It's so great to be with you again, Denali. This is Karina Shah, and it is September 16th, 2020. So such a beautiful frequency vibration that I'm feeling in resonance and synchronicity with you. And it feels like so many things are coming to the surface and opening up again. And even though we are still in the midst of this ongoing transition, transformation, transmutation, whatever you want to call it,
Yeah.
My focus has just been on an inner level of connecting really to the flow of my body and my being in synchronicity, in connectivity, and just to let everything else go and just keep that focus as clean and clear as possible, especially since we're coming up to the equinox and we were just talking about that. So
yeah, these equinoxes, and I always get them mixed up. You have the equinox and solstice, right? They divide up the processes of the planet, right? So and our bodies are part of the planet. So they divide up the processes that we go through every year of birth, or being seeded, and then flourishing, and then receding, and then going into the cave, going into the dark of our soul, the dark of ourself, receding back into the inner. And that's really what this equinox is about. And the equinox too is about equality, right? It has this, it's why equal, right?
Equal day, equal night. It's right. This time of year is like, oh, the harvest is all coming in, and and if we're in this hemisphere, in the southern hemisphere, it's just the start of the spring.
Yeah, and it depends on which hemisphere you're in.
Yeah, exactly.
It's being balanced always, because the opposite hemisphere is having the opposite process. So in the northern hemisphere is masculine hemisphere, and the southern hemisphere is a feminine hemisphere, and on the equinox they're both balanced. So it's a balancing. We're coming into a balancing, and then as a time space orientation, it's a portal that we travel through. So everything that needs to be balanced by this moment, that's a marker in time, we're going to feel it then. It wants to find balance by that moment, by this moment of equality. And it always comes down to, this is, as we go along this journey, it becomes more and more hilarious, really, that it comes down to, it's whether it's an outer marriage, an inner marriage, a balancing, a harmonizing, it's always between masculine and feminine energy every time. There isn't anything else.
Yeah. Receptive, receiving in, a transmitive, projecting out in this beautiful complementary divine dance. And I felt today, particularly, a real upsurge of defining, and it was a very strong, commanding presence that was coming through me. Like, it even surprised me how much my voice was like, and it was in a couple of situations where I think the people around me were just a bit, shocked, really. And I was shocked by what just so commanding. And it wasn't something that I planned. It was something that was spontaneous. And I think that's what's powerful about the source energy. is the beautiful complementary moment of this surging, sometimes surging, but then sometimes deepening, going down very deep in at the same, sometimes in the same moment.
Right. And in the balancing, it's both. It's like there's a split second between when there's a tide, the tide's going in, and when the tide's going out. There's just a moment that it's neither, that you can't call it a tide. It's just balance, right? It's not an inward tide and it's not an outward tide. And there's just a split second when heat is applied to water and it's, let's say it's ice and then it becomes water. There's a moment when it's kind of not ice or water.
The in-between state.
Right. And then if you apply more energy, there's a moment when it's neither vapor or water. It's at this transition point, and that's what we get to experience twice a year, to come into this complete equality, and then you get to have the longest day, you get to have the light, then you get to have the shortest day, and you get to have the dark. We get this full spectrum because the whole universe has this full spectrum, and it's going through the same thing, from microcosm, from an atom all the way to a solar system, to a galaxy, and on and on and on. It's happening at every level. One of the most amazing discoveries, I think, I noticed, and it's just one of those aha moments, but it was known all the way through, is that just like we're speaking about these different, microcosm or macrocosm, that the awakening process of a human being is the same process that a star goes through. Yeah. So if you go look up all the different levels and process that a star goes through, all the way to the white dwarf, to the supernova, to the black hole, to the white hole, like, you'll find that a corresponding awakening.
Yeah.
So don't be attached to the one you're in or the one you think you're about to get to, because there's another one.
Oh, we use so many different metaphors to describe this incredibly powerful and beautiful process, and this amazing gift that's shining through every moment of that unfoldment. And that's the gift that is bestowed upon each being. That's a unique and beautiful particle, wave, vibrational gift that each of us comes into a form and is carrying in that gift is this incredible message that's just perfectly designed for our deliverance and for us delivering it.
Earlier, I was, random thoughts just come through our minds. And until we accept, to me, until we allow, accept, embrace silence, mostly those thoughts are repetitive. They're things that we are working on for this lifetime. There are things that were traumas. There are things that we want to avoid or that we're grasping. They're repetitive. Then after a certain amount of, sort of more or less seamless presence, abiding in silence, then the experience here was that thought kind of just goes nearly to nothing. But then there was something new that at first seemed like a regression. It was that, and then there was a proliferation of thought.
Mm.
There's a proliferation of thought, but it was authentic, original thought.
Mm.
What, I would say when people are having moments of genius, that's what this is. It's that it's original and authentic, and it's new for the dimension that we're in, for the culture that we're in. It's for sure new to you, right? Because it's new and alive because it has to do with this moment.
Mm-hmm.
And as I was just kind of thinking about what's going on the rest of the day, then came up that we were going to connect, and then the question came up. I wonder what we'll speak about, and it doesn't usually come up. And then it was just silent again, and then the only thing I could feel or notice or sense was the body is singing. The body is just vibrating and singing, and even I can hear it singing. I can feel it singing. It's the shining that you were just speaking about. It's the shining, and it has a sound to it, and it's where we're all going. It's what we all will experience at some point or not, and my speculation is that becomes seamless at some point. It's not seamless here. If I go into thinking about some problem too much, or getting too involved with my relatives or kids or something, then I'm not noticing that. But it's becoming more and more seamless to feel this just shining, right? And it has this just singing, it has this vibration
Mm-hmm.
that we're speaking about, and it's silence.
Mm-hmm.
So it's complicated. It's very challenging to speak about, because if it's not silent, you're not noticing it. And so you're predominantly noticing silence, but in that silence, there's this shining and this singing, which I would suppose many would say that's the Om, or the original sound. And it doesn't matter what you're really doing. It doesn't matter what you're saying. It doesn't matter if thoughts come much, and it doesn't matter if they're original or repetitive.
Yes. Like the statement in the beginning was the Word.
That's
The Word was God, and the Word was with God. And Word, when it's translated in its original formulation back to Aramaic or back to ancient languaging, was tone or sound. And to me, what one of the reasons why I'm here is through the sound that comes through me, and also reconnecting the song lines that are natural flowing fields of being that have experienced great disruptions.
right. Something's been added to them to make it like a discord, and then through your well, literally just through your being, if that's what you're here for, it's like pulling it through the eye of the needle, and all the dirt comes off.
Mm.
The discord is just dropped away and goes back to its own tone, or its own. we keep falling silent because when we speak about it, it pulls on you so strongly that, and it's so enjoyable, it's so contenting, it's so fulfilling that nothing else seems very important. A lot of teachings talk about desire falling away, and the experience here is that desire doesn't really fall away, but it becomes fulfilled. And the desire, to me, is for this for what we're speaking about. So while it's being experienced, there is no desire. Well, there is desire, but it's fulfilled. While you're not experiencing the truth of yourself, then the desire isn't quite fulfilled. And to the extent it's not fulfilled, you'll notice it. You'll notice desire, and it might be pointed at. It might get pointed at all sorts of different things that that we want pleasures or power or whatever craziness we pointed at. But I don't ever experience that desire is absent. It's just that it's fulfilled. And when it's fulfilled, it's supremely content. It's a different kind of contentness.
So, well, as you were sharing, I was receiving from this vehicle of being that desire is the fulfillment of the original harmonics. So, for instance, say the desire is, and they were at, you have to bring it up. And you have this intonement that's going on in the all the individuated states that are in a civilization or a world context. But then in the planosphere, we have something called the Schumann resonance, which is the heartbeat of the planet, and it has a particular tone or intonement or harmonic. When we can find the meeting of these particular intoning of harmonics that line up, and I can hear it. I can hear it in a person's voice. I can hear it in the resonance of and sense it and know it in the original feel. And I can tell when there's a pinching up here. They'll be very nasally and they pinch up here because they're as you say, aspiring towards, which is another way of describing desire or aspirational,
Right.
aspiring. And when we really are deep in our being, the voice changes and the vibrational aspect of the whole being. Like stillness is a bit of an illusion as everything is vibrating. But when it comes into harmony, as you say, that desire fulfilled, there is a beautiful, resonant, original tone or tuning or attunement that occurs.
Yeah, I said before sound or seeing, but it's just tone. It's a constant tone.
Yeah. And sometimes when I'm listening, it'll be like, have you ever seen those theremins, where they have like this instrument and you go like this and
Right, yeah.
sometimes I'll be just listening and hearing this voice of the divine or God or source or whatever. And oftentimes it'll just be like this beautiful humming, and it'll go up and it'll go down, and it's very much a lulling of the being. It's a lullaby that's welcoming us in, and it just offers everything. So, because it is all, so it's like everything is open
Right.
in that sense of being enveloped, embraced, held, and also the sense of the infinite liberation and freedom that comes from allowing ourselves or acknowledging that inner truth that is ours and that is all. It just all seamlessly, as we say that word again over and over again, it's both arriving, has arrived, and is continually expanding. And also, at the same time, it is also dissolving, releasing, returning, attuning into nothingness.
And each dimension has a different tone. And as they, as you climb in dimensions, if we have to speak about them in English, higher and higher and higher, it more closely approximates. And then when it gets very close, it somehow collapses and takes all the tones of each dimension as the final note, as the seamless one, as the one without a beginning or end, which is what we're speaking about. The word traveled, I think, is, my memory of the Bible said that word traveled over the water, living water, which means existence. The word vibrated that which would become existence. It vibrated it into existing. It enlivened it from this awareness that is solid and full and has all potential in it into its fulfilled potential. So as we open up to more and more dimensions of ourself, which are the dimensions of everything, we are fulfilling our own potential, and it will be fulfilled.
As it already is, and
Right.
already has, and always will be.
You can't miss because it's already done. But each of us gets to have an endless, seamless experience of that or of whatever else we wish.
And to notice is to give thanks, to bring our attention to that which is nodding, bowing, thanking, to bring our whole being into that alignment of the singularity and to bow to it as it, in all that we are, bows down to us. And in that moment of recognition, acknowledgement, the breath breathes itself.
And then when you're with a group or a being, or if you're watching this right now, then often the question comes up, well, how do I live from there? How do I remain and just hold that question while having this acknowledgement, having this deeply present experience of awareness, viewing awareness. And the answer will come spontaneously that it's everything else, right? Every other action. You have to take action. You have to choose to look away, to not have this experience, to not be noticing this. So it's not how to do it, it's how not to. How not to is what you're really asking. And you already know how not to. Everything else, other than putting attention here, and at first it'll be on the inside, and then you'll notice it everywhere. It will be impossible to not notice. So just return, 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 return. And that's different for everyone. Someone might take a walk in nature, someone might meditate, sing, dance. Most likely it's going to be by yourself. And most of us don't like that so much. How much of your life have you spent by yourself? There's been a lot of that here. After probably 30 years old, for the last 20 years, a lot of time spent by myself. It's not balanced if we don't have time by ourselves.
And if we really go deep into that, we realize that everything is interconnected. Everything is in this seamless fluid of all. So wherever you are in your time of quiet, so too are all as we. But to make that decision to commit oneself to the all of one's being, we come into a field of awareness where we realize that there is so much more than this identity, this persona, this self, this name, birth date, birthplace. That's not to devalue it or say that it is not an essential part of all that is. It's just a realization of like this welcoming into a larger circle of being. It's so essential to cultivate that aloneness or all oneness.
Often when I'll ask someone, what are you, when I'm working with someone one-on-one, we use questions to divert attention. Like
Mm-hmm.
if you if you if you tell something, if you give an answer or you discuss something, it involves a mind and the egoic mind. But if you ask, well, anything about this moment, like what is it you're noticing now? And often the answer is, well, expansion. I'm noticing expansion, I'm expanding. And then the next one would be, what did you find?
Mm-hmm.
If you went from here to here, if you expanded, what did you find? And it's not ever failed for them to reply, just more of me, right? More of my, I didn't find anything new, it's just more, right? So at first we start out thinking that we're small and that we're expanding. And at some point along the journey, the understanding switches to, I'm just including more of myself.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just identifying further out from this unique individuated center that it's me. It starts here. It's me, it's me, 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 I, I, I. And it doesn't matter what you run into. If you stay in this awareness, you stay present and aware, you'll it'll just keep including.
Mm-hmm.
And when it includes everything, right? When nothing comes towards you anymore that you judge and say, that's not me, when that stops and it's just allowed to come and pass through this center, this, the middle of this torus, then you can meet anything. You can meet and respond to anything. And the way that I share with people is that when that happens, you become truly responsible. It means you're really able to respond. It's not responsibility as a burden like we think in our mind, right? It's just that I'm able to respond. If you're able to respond to whatever's arising, then you're responsible for it, for you and for it. If you're not able to respond, right, there's only one other option. You're going to react. So you're going to act in the way you did before in hopes that it will give an outcome that you prefer.
Mm-hmm.
But in this ability to respond, you simply have no clue about the outcome, right? It's that you don't leave the present moment to even question the outcome, to even follow the outcome, or to speculate on the outcome, because you have such faith in the goodness and the beauty of life that it's already known. It couldn't be anything but good and beautiful, no matter what it looks like, right? When I'm aware and present and I respond. And so this is really answering the question that people want you to answer when they say, how do I remain?
Mm-hmm.
Become responsible. Take responsibility for yourself, and take responsibility for your childhood and your parents and your relatives, and then take responsibility for your family lineage, take responsibility for the planet and the species that you inhabit, take responsibility for your solar system, take responsibility for the galaxy. You just keep being able to respond no matter what shows up. And then what you can respond to immediately becomes included as myself. It's not seen as foreign, as something that I can't meet, that there isn't a true meeting with.
So let us vibrate this field. Let us be this. And I feel called just to play a bowl and sing a little bit until silence.
Seems like a good place to leave everyone.
Yeah. Thank you once again.
Thank you.
Ah, please, everyone who's here and with us, there's links down below. You can check out more about who we are, Remember to subscribe to Denali's channel and to my own. Thank you so much. Blessings.